ladies, gentlemen, not Gordon. Welcome to the SimEra podcast. It has been a while. Happy to be back. We had a really fun and exciting season one. Congratulations to BRS on his Super Bowl. It's his first one in SimEra, but I've been playing in leagues with him for a long time. He usually wins at least one per cycle. Joined by my always ever-present co-host, Cobbs. Cobbs, how we doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Looking forward to another podcast. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while. It kind of got hectic for work-wise with everybody. I know you're back in the office. I'm really busy. Nah has been on a bender for 2.5 months, it seems like. So it's been hard to get him available. I would also like to introduce our top secret special guest. We actually have our season one champion, BRS, on for the podcast in the guest spot. BRS, you want to, maybe introduce yourself? I know you've been talking a little bit of smack for the past, since the Super Bowl, but if there's anything else you'd like to say, get it off your chest and, give us a little background, I guess, on yourself and, whatever.
Yeah, the champ has arrived. It's good to be here. Was very, very fun season one. I took the last 2 years off for Madden, so there was definitely a good amount of rust, but glad we were able to overcome some regular season losses and make it work in the playoffs. And I gotta say, being on this podcast with Cobbs, it kind of reminds me of when Richard Sherman went on First Take with Skip Bayless.
I love it.
Very nice.
You knew that.
Glad to have you. Oh, I knew. I know what I signed up for.
Love it. I love it. Well, anyways, congrats, BRS. And then, also for those of you that don't know, I'm pretty sure most of you do know, but, BRS said he took some time off from Madden. BRS works in the medical field, and he's been, super overwhelmed, obviously, the last year with COVID. So would just like to say, hats off to you. Thank you for everything that you do, obviously. It has been an insane year, and it's got to feel pretty rewarding to come back and still be the top dog after – all that shit that you have been through and dealt with. So just thank you for all that you do, my dude.
Yeah. And in case you haven't watched the news in the past couple of years, COVID sucks. And it was a pretty big time sink. And, among a lot of the, Madden was a sacrifice I had to make during the pandemic, but I'm kind of in a lull professionally. I'm sort of in between jobs, and I'm starting a new position in December. So we'll see if I'm able to keep up the same level of commitment to Madden, but I had a couple of months free here, and it allowed me to get in the lab and devise some plays, draw some stuff up, and fortunately I was able to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think looking back, if I had known that you were basically, free to play Madden as much as you want, I probably would have picked you to win the Super Bowl season one.
Yeah, but that was my profession for the last 3 months or so. Let's be honest, that was my job.
Yeah, that is what I said as well. Following my initial comments, BRS is obviously one of the best people as far as making progressions, kind of coming up with plays on the fly and that type of thing. And this league, there's so many people who are good now. It's tough if you don't have the time to just get reps in and just play. And that obviously made a big difference.
So basically what he's saying, BRS, put this on your bulletin board. He's like, you only won because you had more time. I'm just kidding.
That is the go-to excuse, though. That is the trope, right? Sorry, you have no life.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I don't look up YouTube videos all day.
I didn't know I was on a podcast with Cheddar.
Well, let it out, buddy. Let it out. All right. So, we're happy to have BRS here. Let's get into some of the topics we come up with. Obviously, we want to maybe keep this one quick. We just kind of wanted to recap season one and the playoffs. Obviously, we know BRS won the Super Bowl, but the playoffs were full of fun and full of snow. I guess not fun at all. It was mostly snow games, and it was miserable, and I hope that we don't have any more of them. I don't know what you guys want to start talking about. I guess with the seasons, we can guess just I guess any surprises from season one, anything nobody saw coming, any big moments, things like that. Just anything off the top of your heads you guys want to maybe roll with.
Yeah, I mean, I think what stands out to me is Clinky's kind of magical playoff run. I don't think a single person, I don't even think Clinky would have predicted himself to make the Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs. And he ended up winning 3 really, really close games. He found a formula that worked in the playoffs, and that formula was uh, pick snow games, reduce everyone's speed by 5, and just chuck it to Fuller and Waddle. Um, but I think people are going to be prepared for that going forward. I'm not sure if he's going to. We'll get into it later. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to replicate it. But it's tough to win one close game in the playoffs, and he won 3 in a row. So for me, that was a big surprise, and hats off to Clinky for playing clutch in multiple fourth quarters and getting through the AFC.
Yeah, it was an incredible playoff run. I said it to him in chat, and I tried to say it as in a way that didn't sound offensive, but I was like, man, you went full Eli Manning or like Joe Flacco on that playoff run. Obviously didn't end up with the hardware, but it was still, in my opinion, one of the more fun runs I've watched in a Madden league. And I think, obviously, BRS, you and I are good friends, but I was rooting for a good game, not necessarily rooting for Clinky, but it would have been cool to, if he was playing truth, it would have been 100% rooting for Clinky. But you blew him out, and I think everybody was kind of hoping for a closer game. But that's what happens. You lose your quarterback. Him beating Sensei with Nick Mullins is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. When he was down 13 with like 4 minutes left in the fourth, and somehow pulled it out of his ass. So that's off to Clinky.
It was Nick Foles stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
I'll give you one more surprise. I think Dan getting basically just rocked by Solomon in round 1. I mean, snow game or not, they had played pretty tight, and I definitely didn't see that coming. I mean, Solomon's a good player. I think people kind of slept on him before this year, but Dan doesn't normally get blown out like that with someone he's played multiple times.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. I think a lot of it had to do with the snow. And Dan said he didn't really adjust to the snow until after halftime, which a lot of you people that were like in chat saying like, oh, it's just snow. It's not a big deal. Like you haven't played a snow game yet, I'm guessing, if you think that way, because it's not only is it like the mentality of a playoff game where like, all right, I have to score or I'm going to lose this game. On top of that, all your players are slower and you're constantly staring at this awful visual that really just messes with your head more than the intensity of a playoff game already does. And I think Dan said a lot of that stuff, and we were all kind of laughing at him. And then we all had play a snow games. And we were like, "Oh shit, this is bad."
Yeah, it was especially surprising to me because Dan is a very, very conservative Madden player. He's going to use plays that have worked for him over the course of the regular season, and usually his reads are on point. But of course, when everyone's trudging through 2 feet of snow, then the brakes aren't as sharp. Players are slipping everywhere. You can't get to the sidelines or the edge. You can't hit the holes as quickly. So I really think it messed with him a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if he adjusts for season 2.
Yeah, I think one thing I notice about playoff games is you kind of lose the ability to run, and I think that's something that got figured out down the line in the playoffs, especially I think when people were watching my game with Clinky and it was just like bomb city. People were like, oh, you can still throw the ball deep in the snow. Because with the slowed speed, it's like your running back turns into like usually like an 85 speed running back, and he doesn't get to the line as quickly, and you get stopped in the backfield a lot, which is, obviously makes it harder to run. So bombs away for anybody who has snow games in season 2. Just pray that you don't. But
well, one last thing on that. So now we know, for anyone who doesn't, that apparently if neither team clicks on the scenario, you can actually skip the blizzard, which is insane, but it is what it is. So now going forward, we'll have this like little chess match ahead of time of who's going to click on it.
Yeah, who's feeling particularly evil or thinks that it can benefit them in some way. And if you are feeling that way, I'll tell you, think twice. um, all right, cool. So yeah, and then we got to the Super Bowl, like I said, and BRS won. Um, pretty cool to. I guess we should talk about Truth finally being dethroned, because I mean that was one of the all time runs we've had where Truth won every single Super Bowl in SimEra last year, and I think a lot of people, including Truth, had himself penciled in to win season one here, and he kind of got punched in the mouth by BRS in the playoffs, and I think it was almost like you know in like Independence Day when all the ships start falling at the end of the movie and everybody's rejoicing, or like in Return of the Jedi when the Death Star falls and like they're showing parties all over the galaxy. Like that's kind of what it felt like. Ding dong, the witch is dead. But now we have a new witch, I think. like BRS is definitely playing the best football, but he did lose to Biz just now. So
Yeah, you die a hero, or you see yourself live long enough to become a villain. That's basically what it
bingo,
is. That's what
bingo.
it is. I guess I'm not sure if that makes me the Joker or Two-Face or what. Um, but in this Madden, it's an any given Sunday type thing. I lost to Gordon, I lost to Eater, I lost to Biz. Uh, I really think when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to high level plays, high level games, you just got to know what your opponent is going to run. I knew Truth was going to run a lot of cover 2 man and cover 2 zone, and so you dial up a couple plays that'll beat that type of coverage. And fortunately, I have DK and I have Tyler Lockett, and if you know the coverage that your opponent's going to come out in, then you absolutely should be able to roast it if you have the right personnel. So um, really, I think this Madden is one where anybody can beat anybody, and if you get complacent or if you get cocky, you can get smacked. I've been on both ends of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of the league jokes about like, oh, I can't believe you guys watch tape or watch streams. It's like it's just another advantage to have. Like if there's one or two plays a game where you recognize something and see like, oh, this is when he runs that cover zero blitz. I know what to do here. I'm going to block 7 and my wide receiver is going to beat his guy in the slot. Like that's chess. That's how you play Madden, and it's just an advantage that a lot of people think is like cheesy or something. Like I'm not putting the time in. Like you don't have to, but it helps. And this is, that's proof of why BRS is as good as he is, and why a lot of the people in here are as good as they are.
Yeah, I can't imagine a simulation league where we don't do what's actually done in real life, which is people looking at tape and evaluating and analyzing other teams' tendencies.
Well, and the thing I've said about that too is it's not like a real life equivalent where we're putting in like 100 hours. Like with the way that most people play in this league, you can pick up on their tendencies from like a quarter or a half. Like, I mean, Truth especially. Like Truth has his defensive coverages that work, and if he sees they're working, he'll stick with them. Like he'll sit in 2 man under for a half. So it's not it literally just watching someone stream, you can normally, when it's live, you can normally pick up a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So word to the wise for all you out there that do not watch streams or watch tape, you might be able to win a couple more games if you do it. All right, cool. So again, congratulations, BRS. Great Super Bowl win. Season one was a ton of fun. The playoffs were fun. Really tight races in the AFC. Probably going to be the same way again this year, but we do think there's going to be a couple people that miss the playoffs, and as always, there will be new playoff teams. So we each picked a team that we think is going to either regress or miss the playoffs. It was from season one, and then we each picked a new playoff team. Um, so I don't know which of you wants to start with either a new playoff team or someone who's going to miss, or do both, however you guys want to do it.
Sure. I can start. So I not to kick a man while he's down, but I'm gonna go since Cobbs has proven that he's absolute shit when it comes to preseason predictions and analysis. I'm gonna go to his division. Let's start talking about the AFC East, And I think my prime regression candidate here is actually Clinky. Uh, I see a lot of folks in the AFC who I think are going to have better seasons. I think Clinky benefited a lot from being able to hit the deep ball. I think the scouting report's kind of out on him now that he played in so many high profile games. And I think he's going to see a lot of too high safety looks for the remainder of the season. He also ended up losing game one already to Spook, who basically let Chubb run train on him. Uh, and I
Big
think,
time Chubb daddy.
yeah, full Chubb that game.
Chubb
And I think that people are going to utilize that strategy to great effect. Just play two high safeties on him, force him to uh, throw a lot of short passes, and then just run on him all day when he's on defense. I don't know if he's going to be able to make the playoffs again after being the AFC champion. I think that would be a big fall from grace for him.
Yeah, I think one thing I noticed, and I got into this bomb fest shootout with him, and I really couldn't run the ball in the playoffs, but I started to notice it in my week one game, and I noticed it from your Super Bowl too, and I think I even asked you about it. Like, don't blitz him. Sit in a lot of too high looks and make him eat your zones up. And hopefully you can get some pressure, or hopefully you can get a bad read from him and get an interception. And then his defense is pretty good. He likes to sit and cover two a lot, but he is a good user and he makes plays at the line of scrimmage too. So, like, your best way to beat him is to almost just like out conservative him and try to, pound the rock. And I mean, I have Nick Chubb, so it's easy for me to say sit back and pound the rock. You know what I mean? When he gets freight train going and nobody can tackle him. But yeah, I tend to agree that I think the sit in two high zones and make him pass is definitely the move there, which I did not do in the playoffs. I don't think Sensei did it really. I don't think Cobbs did either. So
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
good one. So my candidate for regression, we joked about this person being patched, but I think there's some truth to it.
Patch Adams.
Is Cheddar. So what I'll say about that is I definitely think that he got out to a hot start early last season with, long dropbacks, rollouts, and hitting these deep bombs. He's got pretty good team with the Broncos. He's got speed receiver and Hamler, and I think that worked for him. He got a lot of blowouts early on, possibly a little bit of a light schedule, though I don't remember the exact details. Now, I'll say I just played him in FMF a week or so ago, and he beat me in the playoffs. I was, hoping he was going to do the drop back rollout stuff because that shit just doesn't work anymore. Like, it's not a viable strategy. He did adjust. In my opinion, this is kind of my MO. I kind of beat myself in that game. Ultimately, it was a close game, one score game. Yeah, but I do see him adjusting. Like, he didn't do the things he's been criticized for, but it just didn't feel, like it had the same pop to it. I think he's got to kind of reinvent himself. I think he's a good player, and I think he definitely can kind of come up with a new style. But that would be my pick for someone who's maybe going to slow down a little bit season 2.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I mean, Chet and I go back and forth all the time, but it's mostly just having some fun and some laughs. I do think he's going to have to find a new approach because he did skate by in a lot of big games in season 1 just by avoiding pressure from the corners by dropping back really far against users who weren't adjusting their zones and leaving the sidelines open. And if you have 8 seconds to throw, somebody is going to be open. And I think we joke about him being patched, but I definitely think like we saw him struggle a little bit with adjustments down the stretch, but it seems like he might be figuring it out, as you said. Definitely an owner to watch. I don't know if BRS, you have anything to say? I know you guys got into it the other day.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say anything. I don't really want to be beaten up by an All-American linebacker. Yeah, just be careful when you're talking about Cheddar. Just be careful if you beat him in a Madden game. You're risking personal injury, so if the stakes weren't high enough in this league already, just know that when you play Cheddar, you're putting your life on the line.
Be careful, guys. Be
Yeah.
careful. No, all in good fun. Okay, so that leads us to our third regression candidate. Actually, a regression candidate that all three of us had, but I wanted to make sure that I was the one to bring this up, and I was the one to let the league know that this owner is going to regress. I'm sure you can all guess who I'm talking about, and that is Eater, who ran his mouth at me as he always does come the playoffs, and got embarrassed as he always does come the playoffs. I think Eater skated by into tricking people into these low scoring games. His defense is kind of decent, but once you realize he doesn't do anything but sit in stock coverage and user the middle linebacker, it was pretty easy to overcome. If you can stop Jonathan Taylor, he doesn't have a clue how to pass. Maybe that'll change season 2 with a better quarterback, but for the most part, it seemed like he threw drags and screen passes and to Jonathan Taylor, and that was his entire offense. I think combined with the fact that, jokes aside, Faz is better this season, and he's got Lawrence to X Factor. I think Faz is just a better player than Eater at this point in their lives. And then you have, two other new owners. I don't really know anything about the new Titans owner, but I've heard everybody speak pretty highly of E. Warren, the new Texans owner. Although he just dropped a week 1 game to Tibbs as the Vikings. So not a great showing for his debut, but I just think that division in general is going to be tighter. I think the AFC is really tight. Eater basically came really close to missing the playoff season 1. He started out like 7-2 and then kind of fell down the stretch to 10-6. And, if he had lost another game in there, which all of them were pretty close games, he could have easily been 7-10 or whatever. I just think it's hard to maintain those close slugfest wins year in and year out, which is kind of the way I talk about the Steelers team in real life this season. And I kind of see Eater in the same way. I just don't see him making the playoffs again, let alone winning the division.
Yeah, I think versatility is important this year in Madden. Can you run the ball? Can you pass the ball? And he's got a pretty one-dimensional offense. You know right off the bat that his strategy is to run Jonathan Taylor into the ground. And, we joke about all his idiosyncrasies. Like he'll go after the quarterback with the best run blocking. Don't ask me why. But I think, yeah, you highlighted a lot of reasons. I think there's going to be more competition in the division. I think more people have been exposed to Eater. He's not going to catch them off guard by trying to run the ball down their throats. And, winter's coming up, and that means more time indoors. And I think that means Eater's probably going to be on the foot fetish websites a lot more too. So I think there's a lot of factors working against Eater this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know Eater's going to seriously take offense to him sitting in stock coverage, but that was my assessment of it also when I played him. He did beat me, but I passed for like 400-something yards. So, I mean, I think Eater's a good player, but I think you're right. I think there are direct counters to the offensive plays that he kind of ate on all of season 1. So, be interesting.
Yeah, like pistol spread kind of caught the league off guard, like kind of when the wild card set the NFL on fire for that one season. And I don't foresee it happening again. But yeah. All right, cool. So we did the playoff teams that are going to miss. We each picked a playoff team that we think was going to be a new team as well. I'll go first. I picked 2 people that are the same person, so I counted them as one. X dog and time. Time for X for whatever.
X dog for change.
X dog for change. Yeah. I think that they were both. One of them was 10-7, one of them was 11-6 last year. So I mean that's right on the door. They're both conservative players, but they a lot like it almost in a way that's the hardest people to beat this Madden, because when you have people taking risks and trying to push the ball, and you're more likely to get turnovers. these two are both kind of just content to take their shots when they get them, and other than that, just kind of move the ball slowly down the field, chew clock, um, make plays, and I think that plays well to a certain level in Madden this year. Definitely capable of getting you to the playoffs. I think we saw that with a lot of teams last year, and I just think it's odds are that one of them, whichever one it is going to come out of the AFC North. I don't think the AFC North is going to have 4 11-win teams again. It's just not going to happen. Like it's not likely to happen. So I think one of them is going to miss the playoffs, but I think one of them does sneak in just based on the pure odds that they're both good Madden players and they're both play the game style that I think can get you to 11 or 12 wins this year.
Mm-hmm. Good picks. I agree with those. I've got another AFC candidate, and I actually think it's going to be Faz. So
Did you know that it's Foz?
Yeah, I do know that.
I refuse to say it, but
I do
Foz.
too. It's Faz.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
always going to be Faz.
Yeah. So the thing with Faz is, oh God, it just sounds so fucked up. So I think that all of his issues were almost off the field. Like let's call it like an OBJ situation where the talent is still there, but he had some personal grievances. Our departed Rams owner Dallas was just like a black cloud hanging over the league. Just his presence here seemed to like drive Faz crazy, and I don't think we got an A+ effort out of him. Yeah. Now I'm sure it was 150% effort in SML, and hopefully he'll bring that same effort here. It seems like he had a pretty good draft. He got Lawrence up to X Factor, as you mentioned, and he's a good player. I mean, there are some grumblings about all Madden, but I think that he should maybe put those aside and realize we're all playing on the same difficulty. It affects all of us the same way. I do think he's going to come out of that division. Like you said, Texans owner dropped his first game. So until proven otherwise, I think I'm going to pick Faz to actually win that division.
Yeah, I was really surprised when his dad posted Instagram videos of him missing open receivers. That was really
surprising. Oh, that's funny. That does sound like Foz's dad, though. So.
Yeah, a lot of family controversy in the Foz family household. I am onto my candidate who I think is going to have a bounce back season. This is an owner who I've also known for a long time, played in a bunch of leagues with him. And so my prediction really isn't so much an indictment on how he's done in this league, but really sort of me going off of his past record. And that's Graham's with the New York Jets, who I'm actually going to take a stand here and say I think he's going to win the division. He had a major blockbuster trade this past offseason. Traded away Zach Wilson and a pick and got Kyler Murray back in return. And, for me personally, this was the first time really ever that I've played with a mobile quarterback. Usually I've been with the Chargers with old man Phillip Rivers, who always runs like he's carrying all of his children on his back, or Tom Brady. But I had Russell Wilson this Madden, and really having that mobility, being able to change passing angles by running around, always being able to run for at least 5 yards when no one's open, that plays big this Madden. And now he has Kyler Murray, who can do all of those things. So I think Graham's is going to be a lot better with a mobile quarterback. I think now that he has a season under his belt, he'll adjust. And I think he's a good candidate to bounce back and make the playoffs. He's already won his first game too. So I think the best is yet to come with Graham's. And I think Cobbs, you got someone to watch out for in your own division.
Yeah, BRS, I see your perspective a little now because I just felt my blood pressure raising when you picked Graham's to win the division. But I do agree that Graham is going to have a bounce back season. I'm going to say right now he's definitely not going to win the division, but I respect your prediction, so we'll see. I have to go out and do it.
Yeah, I was going to come on this podcast and dog you after what you
Oh, of
said to me.
course.
You deserve it for
Yes.
6 months afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Never forget. Never forget.
You will never forget that one time you thought BRS wouldn't win the Super Bowl after 3 years away. All right, so speaking of that, and Cobbs, tread lightly here, I guess, but we're going to move on to our Season 2 Super Bowl predictions. We were thinking of doing a playoff one, but just it's too much time to pick every division winner and wild cards and things of that nature. So we're just going to go with what we think our Super Bowl matchups are going to be for Season 2 and who's going to win. So we'll each pick one representative from each conference and then a winner. And I think we should probably let the reigning champ be heard. I would be dumbfounded if he's not picking himself here, but let's hear it.
Wow. At least one person on this podcast respects me. I have a lot of confidence in myself, but you got to be analytic about how things have gone in the past, and repeating is something I've never been able to do before. I've never been able to really win 2 in a row. I've been to multiple Super Bowls, but I haven't repeated as the champ twice, and I don't know what it is about myself. Maybe I get a little bit complacent. So I'm gonna make the move of dogging myself and picking against myself, hoping that'll motivate me for the rest of the season.
Are you just to be clear here? You've run out of motivation, so now you are picking.
You're slighting yourself.
You're slighting yourself.
Yeah.
To use it as motivation.
Well,
okay, I just wanted to
nobody in the league is talking shit on me, so I have to talk shit on myself.
This is incredible development, by the way.
Yeah. This is called personal growth, guys. Anyway, so I'm actually going to be going with a surprise pick. I'm going to be picking Nah to make it out of the NFC. I think his run of bad play recently has mostly been related to him just having a wild personal life. And I think now that he's seen his own Atlanta Braves taste that sweet, sweet victory, I think he's going to want a taste of it for himself. I think that's going to inspire him to get back in the lab, figure out what works and what doesn't, figure out how to use Jordan Love. Having a quarterback with over 90 throw power is pretty crucial to the way he runs his offense. And I actually think Na's going to make it out of the NFC.
Interesting.
I could see that, but I did watch his game last night, so I could also not see it.
He's still in bender mode. Give him some time.
Yeah, that's true. We need to give him some time to recover from whatever he has been doing for the last 2 weeks, because it's probably got some brain injuries from the alcohol. All right, so we got Na from the NFC. Who's your AFC team?
So my AFC team is going to be a little bit less of a surprise. I'm going with someone sort of tried and true. It's Sensei with the Ravens. Sorry to pick against you, Spook, but just pouring over the roster. He's got a great receiving core. He knows how to use Lamar. He uses Dobbins to great effect. He's got a terrific user, and I think his season opening win against Truth was very, very impressive. There's only, I guess, 2 people in the league right now who've beaten Truth, myself and Sensei. And I think that between the roster he's crafted and the play calling recipe that he's found, I think he's really, really got a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So that's my prediction. Na versus Sensei, the most toxic Super Bowl in the history of mankind. Who knows if the league can survive? But
you have
that's where I'm
no
going.
idea. They had a playoff matchup last year, and it went on for like 6 months afterwards. So I'm actually kind of hoping that would be a Super Bowl matchup. Who do you got coming out with the trophy?
I think it's going to be Sensei this year. Nas is just vulnerable to distractions, man. You never know. Like, there could be a happy hour 2 blocks away from him. His BAC could be something like 0.16 by the time he plays the Super Bowl. I know he thinks that's like the equivalent of 1 beer or whatever, but I think because Sensei cares more, puts a little bit more time into it, and because I think he's less likely to get thrown off by smack talk. I think Sensei is going to triumph over Na in the Super Bowl.
I could see that. That would be a really good matchup.
Yeah,
And
I guess
I'll
I'm picking Na to beat himself more than Sensei to beat Na.
that's
Wow.
a good matchup. I'll use that to segue into because I also have Sensei coming out of the AFC. Call me a beta, call me whatever you want. His team's just better, and he has Lamar Jackson. Lamar is really, really hard to stop if Sensei decides he's just going to run around with him and make plays. Contains don't really work against him. He just outruns them. He's 96 speed. And, I'm not slighting Sensei here. He's a really, really good owner, like definitely one of the best owners in the league. But you combine that player with the speed he has. He has so many ability players on offense. His defense is really good. I can beat Sensei. I have. I'm going to go with him out of the AFC, just being purely logical here. Out of the NFC, I hate even saying this because I hate giving him any credit. But I think Dan's going to come out of the NFC season 2. I think he's probably really annoyed that he didn't win a playoff game. I think he's probably really annoyed that everybody's telling him he's washed up and old. That Panthers team is really, really good. They have speed everywhere. He has a quarterback now, so he can throw to more people than just Christian McCaffrey. I think he's definitely going to be motivated to win more games. And like you said, I think it's pretty hard to repeat. So I'm not going to pick you and Truth. I think Truth's kind of in a rough patch right now. I've never seen him lose back-to-back games before, I don't think. Arguably, I mean, it was against 2 of the top players in the league, so it is what it is. But I just think that, maybe Truth's time at the top has gone. Use this for motivation, Truth. But I think it's going to be Dan versus Sensei. And I am also going to pick Sensei to win the Super Bowl. Just so that when he comes out in a month and says everybody's against him and scheming against him and all this shit, he knows that 2 out of 3 people so far have picked him to win the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, I like the strategy of picking against yourself to motivate yourself. I
kind of went with it too.
Yeah, so I won't bury the lead. That was my pick too, was Sensei. Just given the team construction, we saw what he did with Lamar last year. That was the most surprising upset of the playoffs when he lost to Clinky. So I think he's going to come out of it. I agree with all of what you guys said about his game. So the NFC is kind of a paradox because if I pick BRS to win, he probably won't because I didn't slight him sufficiently. But if I pick anyone else, then BRS is going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm wrong regardless. But
yeah, you got to think this one through.
Yeah, just to avoid being, I guess, boring. And just picking BRS because I do think you definitely have a good chance to repeat, especially given, like you said, your schedule stays pretty open for a while. I think that Truth just has this monstrous team.
You son of a bitch.
with all these dev upgrades. In that game, it was a very good NFC Championship.
What more do I have to do?
I think that Truth comes out of the NFC. I'm going to say at least NFC Championship is probably BRS Truth again. And I think Sensei wins it, which would be his first Super Bowl win over Truth. I think maybe the 4th one. But we'll see. I predicted Cheddar to win the Super Bowl last year. So, I mean, all the talk about my slights against BRS, I got basically everything wrong.
So basically what you're saying is it's not a slight and you're just stupid.
Right, exactly.
Okay. That clears
it up. Does that clear it up, BRS?
I feel so slighted right now.
Look what you've done. Okay, so we're approaching 40 minutes here. So, okay, we all got Sensei winning season 2. So, Sensei, sheesh, if you don't win with that squad.
To be honest, I think actually Nah might win the Super Bowl now because I think BRS probably just like forced him into like insanity with saying he's going to beat himself, etc. We used to joke about Nah going into the Bat Cave after his losses, and I think that type of thing could happen if Nah listens to this.
Yeah,
He'll
he's been pretty tame this year. There haven't been a lot of like insane rants, but he didn't lose a playoff game yet. So
True.
that's I guess you have to get to the playoffs before you can have one of those insane rants. But we're all looking forward to it, hopefully. So
Yeah.
all right, cool guys. I appreciate the getting back into the swing of things here. Hopefully, we can get back to doing like one of these per week. Everything got really tight there. My work kind of dies down now, and we can try to make it a point to get more of this. Cobbs, as always, thank you. BRS, congrats again on the bowl. Thanks for joining
For
us.
sure.
Thanks for having me.
Loved having you. All right, cool guys. Season 2 is underway. We're already about to get to the next week here in a couple hours. Thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll have another one of these for you shortly.
See ya.
Later.